Welcome to the Write It Down podcast with the 1513 Network. I'm your host, Brooke Murata, bringing you one-on-one interviews to challenge, inspire, and encourage. Up next, we have my friend Chris Hale on the podcast. He's a former defensive back of the Buffalo Bills and the Denver Broncos. I'm super excited to introduce him. We became fast friends. We met out in San Diego at Marcus Allen's tournament, and we just hit it off super well. So I'm glad that he came on this podcast. The only downside of Chris is he likes baseball. So we just didn't see eye to eye on certain things, and that's okay. But in all honesty, he is just the most genuine guy ever, super kind, loves traveling, loves helping people, and he's got a lot of insight and encouragement for us. So you know what to do. Sit back, relax, and get your pens ready, because this is Write It Down. Welcome back to the Write It Down podcast. I'm your host, Brooke Murata, on the mic with Chris Hale. Chris, thanks so much for joining us today.
It is my pleasure, my dear.
I am super excited. We met in San Diego. We hit it off pretty quick, giving each other a hard time. You are a very lighthearted, kind, and energetic person. And so I'm excited to have you on here. Yes, absolutely. That's the only compliment you're getting this entire show. So soak it up and let that fuel you for this episode. But growing up, Southern California, played football. You played for the Bills and the Broncos. But that's not all that your life has to offer. We know that. And so I'm excited to talk to you about all the different things that you are a part of, but I know that football was kind of a catapult in certain areas of your life. So why don't you share a brief bit about your football years, and we can go into more fun topics for you.
Right. Okay. Well, shoot. I mean, that's crazy because I don't know where to start. I mean, I usually start from the beginning. Mm-hmm. And yes, football has kind of catapulted me into everything and what I'm doing now in my life. But I started off in a smaller town out here right outside of Los Angeles called Monrovia. Mm-hmm. It's about 10 miles east of Pasadena, where the Rose Bowl is played. I grew up right up the street from the Rose Bowl. I attended USC. I was drafted in the 7th round by the Buffalo Bills. I played there for 4 years, and I played in 3 Super Bowls with the Bills. Wow. And then I went on to Denver. And at Denver, I was released very early, so I don't really claim them as much. And then I actually went to Houston. And that's not the Texans, it's the Oilers. So mm-hmm. I'm a little bit older. And so I was there for camp, and then that's when my life actually began. Mm-hmm. Is more so after football, because you have so many more years of post football than you do of football. Mm-hmm. But fantastic years. I cannot complain. It's good. I still have all my friends. And how I met you is because I'm involved. And of course, USC.
Yes.
And that's where I met Marcus Allen. And Marcus was like a big brother to me back in those days. So he's a little bit older than I am, but always a guy that I can turn to for advice at those times.
He is very reliable. Yeah. Anybody can count on Marcus. Yeah. So he's super steadfast friend. Okay, so after football, what was like your first endeavor post-football? And was it hard like with the identity shift, or was it kind of easy because you were looking forward to being out of the league? Like, what were your thoughts and what did you do?
Actually, no. It was the hardest thing I had ever done in my life is leaving football. And so it kind of goes back a little bit further than that, in the fact that my last year, or my 3rd year in Buffalo, I actually tore my Achilles tendon. Mm. And when I tore my Achilles tendon, and it was a contract year that always, injuries are what anybody fears in this game, is exactly what happened to me. And so I think that changed my course of who I was and what was going to happen to me. So when I tore my Achilles, I was out for a year. And then in those days, talking about the early 90s, it used to be a death sentence. But I ended up playing another few years. But everywhere I went, everybody was always concerned about, whether, the other Achilles was going to tear or if this one was well. So when I was finally released, I just didn't know what I was going to do, because everybody who actually plays football for any given amount of time feels like they're going to play enough years to last forever. And then they're going to fall into something that's football-like. And and be a part of football forever. And that's not the case. So I had a house on the beach where I sat for about a year. And I was still training, still working out, looking for people to pick me up. And it just wasn't happening. And so I just kind of, I was depressed, I think, for a strange amount of time. Mm-hmm. And I ended up just kind of getting a job just to get a job. Right. And I was like, well, and of course my ego was still, right in front of me. And so I always felt like, well, I'm going to get a job back in the league or do something anyway, right after this. And it wasn't happening. And so somehow I started reading a lot more at that time. And I was reading a lot of self-help books. And I actually read a book. There was a guy named Tim Green who wrote a book, and it was about post-football life. And it just kind of set me in the right mindset as to, I've got to get over it. Football's over for me. Let's have to move. I had to move on with my life. I think my first endeavor though was opened a restaurant. In Hollywood.
Okay.
And,
what type of food?
It was soul food. It was actually it was Cajun and Southern food.
Oh, nice.
So no, it was good stuff. I had a big following there. So I had everybody from from Stevie Wonder to Halle Berry to Val Kilmer to Ellen DeGeneres. I had a big Hollywood crowd that would come in each and every day, mm-hmm. and enjoy themselves, because there wasn't many soul food places in town, and they were it was kind of a 4-star dining soul food place. So that was one of my first endeavors, but it was an awful lot of fun.
Wow. Okay. So then how long did the restaurant last for you? And then what did you move on towards?
Yeah. Well, it lasted for about 6 years.
Okay.
And I got tired of it. And
it's hard to run a restaurant. So,
it is so hard to run a restaurant, but it was so much fun, but it was so good, but it was just so draining. Mm-hmm. I actually got into the golf industry for a little while. So I was in the golf industry for a little while. And then I decided to go into pharmaceutical sales, believe it or not. Uh-huh. So I jumped ship. And the funny thing about getting in pharmaceutical sales is the fact that I wanted to get a job back in the league. And so I wanted to be a scout or a coach or whatever in the NFL. And, I was sending my resume out to them, each and every day. And so in the meantime, a buddy comes up to me and says, why don't you do pharmaceutical sales? And I said, okay, I'll do that until I get a job. So that lasted for 15 years. So
hey, you must have been really good at it.
I was actually very good at it, as much as I did not like it, but I was good at it. And so I have a different perspective on medicine in the United States and the healthcare industry.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's the same thing if you run or work at a restaurant. I've worked at a restaurant for over 10 years now, and it's like I have a different view of restaurants and food now. And, in good and bad ways, because the more that you're around like a different industry, like you just know the behind the scenes of certain things, good and bad. And I'm not saying that people spit in your food. I'm just saying there are certain things that I'm like, I'm not eating that anymore, ever again. I've seen that. I've seen what it comes in. And there's certain things that I can vouch for and be like, no, that's actually made in-house, or that's whatever. And so I'm sure there's a level of that with any industry, especially with pharmaceuticals, like, the company behind it. And so that can be pretty, knowledge is power, but knowledge can be bad too sometimes. Sometimes ignorance is bliss with certain things. So
I would agree.
Yeah. Were you in any sort of medical field or pharmaceuticals when COVID hit, or is this like way, way, way before that?
No, that was way, way, way before that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was not. And however, I did work for Pfizer for a very short time.
Oh, wow.
And that's, it was obviously, it's too big, for, us to understand on this level what a money-making venture that is, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
At this point, this is part of the fabric of the United States. Right?
Can I ask you kind of a little not off topic, but off topic of your story? With all this COVID stuff that happened, and I mean, you can be as opinionated or unopinionated as you want with this. But knowing what,
in trouble.
No. Knowing what you knew with all of that, was that hard to watch? Like everything go on as far as the medical side of things. Obviously, it's hard to watch people pass away in this pandemic for sure. But I mean, like from a level of like knowing what you knew. No,
well, I'm not sure. Here's the thing: in medicine or anything that has to do with medicine, there are certain things that work. Right. I don't entirely know everything that works. And then there are certain things that don't work. Right. And they're trying to give you too much of it. And so where that lands is probably the benefit of having a good doctor who cares for who you are. And it's really hard to find out where the balance is. Yeah. The problem with pharmaceutical sales itself is the fact that they're trying to give you more of the medication, and the medication is a moneymaker more so than it is a healer. And I like I said, it can be a healer, right? Because I think most people need it. But the idea is that they feed you. The more they feed you, the more they get paid. Right. The doctors or people in the medical industry, and that's where you have to draw the line and try to figure out why the money. The money means more than the patient's care. Yeah.
No, and that's even true, even just like kind of with food, segueing back to that. It's like the more sugar you put in something, the more addicting it is. So, or high fructose corn syrup, it's easier for companies to use high fructose corn syrup because it produces faster and you can get goods out like that than making things simple ingredients, right? A little more tried and true. And so I think that's just the same with anything. The bigger you get, it's the same thing. If you had a restaurant, you had the small niche restaurant, and then you started to grow it into, a franchise corporation. The bigger that a company gets, the more it loses that home feel and that perspective, right? And the roots of where you began, because now you're having to make things on a macro level instead of a micro level or a made to order kitchen. And so things can kind of get lost in the sauce. I imagine all of that. But kind of speaking of COVID.
Lost in the sauce.
You see what I just did there? That was so.
Well, yeah, it's good.
My street cred just keeps climbing, honestly, truly.
You're way up.
But kind of speaking of COVID, the beauty is we've settled down some, and so we've both been able to travel a lot. So why don't you share with us a little bit about your trip to Rwanda that you just took and what that was about? I saw your pictures. It looked incredible. So what were you up to over there? I know that's not the only trip that you've taken recently, so kind of tell us a little bit about your traveling.
Yeah, I've taken like 7 trips, I think, in the last 6 months. It's been crazy.
That's amazing.
The Rwanda trip was a little bit different. It was a company called Kids Play International, in which a friend of mine has a school out there that her father donated to many years ago, and she kept up to the tradition. Mm-hmm. And so what the company does is go down there and meet with the kids in the villages outside of Kigali, which is their capital. And looks at the curriculum, helps with the curriculum, helps with groups of kids. So let's say the ladies, especially because ladies in third world countries are all having trouble, and tries to sponsor the kids and the school with their books, their clothing, and also being able to meet with the kids and their parents about growing up in this country and what to look forward to, and changing some of the rules that are having that the world is kind of getting used to, that they're not, gender equality, that sort of stuff. And so I did that with them for about 10 days, which was fantastic, meeting all the kids, seeing all the stuff that was going on. And part of the trip was going gorilla trekking as well. So in the lowland mountains next to the 5 volcanoes on the borders of Uganda, the Congo, and Rwanda, And so, I decided to go gorilla trekking too.
Oh my gosh, how was that?
It was absolutely amazing.
Really?
Right. To be next to a 700-pound gorilla who could rip your leg off and be like within 1 foot of these gorillas. And amazing.
So what is
the
plan if they start attacking? Do they give you some sort of you're supposed to climb? Are you supposed to duck? Like, what's your?
I would wrestle them. Just
oh
kind
my
of,
yeah. Well, 100%. I'm really sorry for even asking that.
I'm a grapple
yes,
guy.
Exactly. Yeah, choke them out. No big deal.
Yeah, I just grab them by the neck like Kong. Give them a white girl like Kong does. No, so we have. So there's guides.
Yeah,
and everybody has a guide, and so the guides have guns and they have sticks and they kind of know what to do. So they kind of shift you around and let you know this is the right thing to do. Get away from this area, move into this bush. For the most part, the gorillas are pretty tame.
Okay,
and they're pretty relaxed, and they just kind of walk around. I would assume that if they decided that they wanted to do something, they could do anything.
Right.
So we have probably about 7 guys around. The hardest part for me was to trek up because it was I'm not in shape, and it was
hike.
about 2.5 miles up into the mountains.
Yeah.
And it was high altitude. So we were about 10,000 feet up, and I was dying.
I wouldn't be able to breathe. That's for sure.
Yeah, and then we get up to this spot, and I'm like gasping, and then this little ape comes out, and he's looking at me, and I was like, "Is that like a toy?" I thought it was a toy because of the fur looks like a stuffed animal.
Wow.
And he just kind of jumped out on the road and started, and I have pictures of him grabbing my leg. He wanted to play.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
Yes, it was the cutest thing in the world, but I realized how strong they actually were because it was a baby. And that baby could have knocked me down and could have dragged me.
Wow.
That's how strong they were. Yeah, you could tell it right away.
And they don't eat, I mean, this might be a dumb question, but they don't eat meat, right? They don't eat herbivores?
No, okay. Yeah, they're only herbivores, and it's not a dumb question. I know 90% of the people on your particular show don't know that.
No, I would have thought, okay, well, I've seen Tarzan, and they're not eating people, but you never know. I mean,
yeah.
Well, and like the reason why I asked
this is not Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah,
I know those people would know that.
Yeah, they would, because he's very educational. I would not know anything like that. I don't tell my listeners how to survive in the wild. I really don't. But the thing is with animals is like the reason why I asked about like survival tactics, because I'm from Florida and there's a lot of gators, and they always say if a gator chases you, run in a zigzag because they can't sway their bodies. So I'm like, I wonder if there's something like you can do with gorillas, but I guess not. I guess you just need a guide with a stick.
You just go right. Yeah. You're gonna die.
You're gonna die.
If
that's
a gorilla,
okay.
If a gorilla decides to attack,
it's time to meet the Lord. Yep.
Yeah. Right.
It's just your time. Honestly, you don't get to pick. So if it's death by gorilla or ape, whatever, you get to go home. So
it would be great on your headstone.
Honestly, attacked by gorilla, but you wouldn't die by it because you would just choke them out.
I would.
It wouldn't be you.
Them.
Yeah,
I would grapple
it wouldn't be.
them.
It'd be me. I'd be the one dead. So that's cool.
Yeah,
but that's.
Well, I always said that.
Awesome.
I was in a safari. Once many years ago, and we got into we got caught in mud. Our tire got caught in mud, and they said, well, the guard got out and he had his machete and he checked out the bushes and he said, I need to get wood to get underneath the tire so we could get out of this mud. And so I got out of the van with a group of other people, and one of my buddies said, are you afraid to get out of the car to go get this wood? And I go, no, not at all. And he said, why not? I go, well, I don't have to be, I'm going to be the first one to the car because I'm faster than everybody here. So, and the lion's going to get the weakest one. So I'm not worried.
No, yeah.
So I had logic.
Yeah, you do. Honestly, that's just called survival skills and being a legend. You can't help but being great. It's like, it's not your problem. It's, it's just not your fault.
Always an escape plan.
Yes, you should have one, especially with your travels and being in the wild. I would say I'm the type of person that would probably like be headlined for some sort of crazy story that I died in the wild or something like that. Well, and not because I'm not like outdoorsy, but mainly because I have like a short attention span to like listening, especially with rules. So if there's a guide going over certain things, I'm the type of person that's like, what did he say? Or I would do something and they're like, hey, I repeat, don't do that. You know, keep all hands and feet in.
Right.
I'm that person that looks like I'm not obeying, but it's really because I have ADD. So I understand.
Right. We're going to England and not to like Africa.
Right. Well, I would still like to go to. I would like to go to Africa. You're painting me out to be the most bougie person ever, which I kind of am. Like if bougie presents itself, I'm gonna go. If adventurous and outdoorsy, I'm gonna go. I have no reason to say no to things. It just so happens bougie is it for now. But listen, I do have survival skills.
That's fair.
Okay. I walked a lot in Paris, so I have some survival skills, and it was hot.
Yeah, speaking of Paris, that was pretty nice.
Yeah, okay. So what is your favorite country you've ever traveled to?
Australia. No, well, it's a tie. It's a tie between Africa and Australia. So I've been to the African continent twice. The country, I've been to Kenya and now Rwanda. Okay. I've been to Australia probably 3 or 4 times. And they're a tie because I want a little bit of adventure wherever I go. And so obviously Africa is like the best place to go for adventure in your life. Australia is absolutely fun. I've been a little bit to the wild, gone out a little bit further where I could see kangaroos in the wild. I've seen koalas in trees. That's cool. I've seen stuff like that. And so I think that's always a very cool thing. Yeah. When there's something that you can't see on a regular basis. Right. And if I'm going to go to another country. And I don't mind going to any country in the world, but I kind of want to see something that's very unusual or people don't see on a regular basis. And that's kind of the basis of what makes it my favorite. Right. Well, I mean, and also like, I feel like when you go to different countries and you're able to experience, like this is something I even just learned in Paris and in England. It's like these people see this every day. Like the Eiffel Tower, I was like, there are people who live here that see this and think, oh, that's just Eiffel Tower. Like I see it every day. Like they don't understand why we come in droves to come see this stuff. But it's the same thing. I say that about Disneyland. Oh, I can't stand Disneyland. I feel like there's a couple things that you've said in this podcast, because I do rapid fire at the end, that I wanted to talk to you about, and you kind of already answered the question by saying that. So thank you so much, because it's how I feel. And I'm just going to go ahead and say this, and I might get some hate for this because I do live in Florida, close to Orlando. It's the pass holders for me. It's the people that buy passes to Disney and they just keep going back because they can't get enough. I will never understand you. We are not on the same wavelength. I don't get it. And then there's just people who travel all over the world to come there, and that's just not me. I'm not going to sweat with little children and wear ears on my head. It's just not for me. We're going to take a quick break to discuss Write It Down's brand new website. You can head over to widpod.com, widpod.com, and see all the goods. You'll notice a banner at the top of the page that says Learn More. If you click that link, it'll show you how you can support Write It Down. P.S. My favorite part about the website is the Wid Wall, which is a collection of all the Write It Downs from the show. This podcast is made possible by the 1513 Network, so show the network some love and support by listening to their other shows. If not, just stick with Write It Down, because I'm the coolest, the realest, the illest. Now, back to the show. Speaking of some unique things, you said that your restaurant was in the Hollywood area and you saw a lot of stars. Is there any star that you've met over the course of your life that has taken you by surprise in a good or a bad way? Probably a lot. And it's not just because of the restaurant. It's more so probably because being a football player, I think the entertainment and athletic world are kind of blended. And so there's always people that pass you by that you're surprised at, whether they're good or bad. I can think of, basketball players have been more prone to be negative to me than any other people. Yeah. It's so like, I was not a fan of Wilt Chamberlain. Okay. who was a megastar back in the old days.
I love that you're profiling basketball players now. You're like, what?
Well,
if I had to pick a group,
there's three guys that have been like really, really negative to me in my entire life, right?
Really? Okay.
And all three of them have been basketball players.
Dang.
Yeah. The two of them are still alive.
So you can't talk about
I don't know. I don't really want to. I don't. Well, you know what? I'll mention one because they have the like personality trophy named after him. And Bill Russell was such an asshole to me.
Really?
It was ridiculous. Yeah, right. You would think of all the guys that you thought would be nice, it would be him, and he was just an asshole to me.
Yeah.
And so
that's tough.
Yeah, I know.
Because
Will Chamberlain was tough when I was young.
That hit you.
So when you're young, you're influenced by the guys that you see, and then you have around. I like this one out. There you go.
That's okay.
Yeah, and so
it's like a raven there.
So
strobe
lights. So when you're young, you get to meet these guys, and you asked for an autograph of Will Chamberlain one time, and he just blasted me, and I took off running. And so those are the things you never forget. So when you're young and you get an autograph from somebody that you really admire, you're like, he's my favorite player. And those guys will come back to you later on and say, oh my gosh, I remember when you gave me an autograph and you were so nice, blah, 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 blah. And so, it just happened to be a couple of basketball players. However, there has been a couple of basketball players that have been very influential in my life as well. So, but, Magic Johnson, who I used to be around all the time, has been very influential in my life with life lessons. And so I can't say the whole basketball community.
You can't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just saying the top three guys happen to play basketball.
And then I feel like if we're going to do that right now, I feel like I should say I have had a good time at Epcot before. And I don't want to sit there and marginalize all of Disney because Epcot was a good time for me. Right. So if we're coming full circle and speaking good things, I repent.
Give Disney some love.
Sorry about that.
And so I'm trying to think of people that I've pretty much had a good time with pretty much anybody because I'm around so many athletes.
Yeah.
And I've grown up in LA, so I've known so many entertainers. And so, there's, good and bad. There's some guys that are different, but like I said, those are the only three that have been to the point where I say, oh, holy smokes, this is not
you treated me
cool
poorly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And there's like a level of, I had my internship out in Burbank with Conan O'Brien. So I was working with any of the like actors and actresses that would come in and do sketches, or they would come in and, I would take basically their documents and make sure they get paid, and then whatever, we would sit there and like watch whatever guests come on. And I honestly was shocked, and I might have shared this before on here, I don't think I have, but I was shocked with Will Ferrell. And granted, I might have caught him on a bad day, like, you know what I'm saying? It could have been. There's so many things going on, and like you can't really be like, oh, my one experience. But I was just like so shocked. Let's just put it this way. I won't say too much, but like right when the camera turned on, it's like he knew what he was doing. Like obviously he's an actor, and I was just like, that's insane that like you can see somebody, and then as soon as the lights, camera, action come on, they're a different person. And not that they're two-faced, I mean, but they just know how to act. They know how to keep a room alive and to keep ratings up and things like that. It's a gift. But it's also one of those things where you're like, oh my gosh, that's why you can't sit there and like idolize every single person that you see on screen or if you see playing in a game, because they're gonna let you down. People are gonna always let you down in those regards. But
Charles Barkley always said, never meet your heroes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're going to let you down every single time.
Every time. Yeah, and that's a bummer. And I hope, I know that I'm your hero, and I hope that I haven't let you down today on this podcast.
You haven't, well, not in the last 30 seconds anyway.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, good. I'm glad you're keeping score here. But we are getting to that point of show where I'm going to ask you a few rapid-fire questions, and then we'll share your write it down. So it'll be a nugget of wisdom that you'll share with the audience. But a couple rapid-fire questions. Sparkling or still water? I had this conversation on Instagram the other day.
Still.
You don't drink any sparkling water?
I do, but very rarely.
Okay, but it's like you don't drink like a LaCroix or like a bubbly.
I do, but very rarely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was told that.
Is there a question about that?
Well, I didn't know if you would pick either one.
Well, the way you looked at me, it was like, really?
Well, here's.
I wasn't just in France. I know that's what you were drinking in France.
I was like sparkling. No, but I drink sparkling water in America. Because you want to know why? I'll just go ahead and go on a tangent. This is Perrier. Yeah, exactly. This portion of the show is not about me. This whole show is not about me, but I'm just going to say this real quick.
Okay.
I got hooked on sparkling water because I did Whole30 a lot in college. Whole30 is like this eating plan that you eat only meats, fruits, and vegetables, and you basically eat back to like paleo style. But you couldn't have like anything. You couldn't have like wine. You couldn't have Coke. Not that I really drink soda, but I wanted something different than just
Coke as
water. Yeah. Coke. I couldn't do Coke for like 30 days. It was hard. It was really hard. It was really, really hard. Even though it probably would have helped me lose weight, I don't understand why they wouldn't let you do that in the program. And so I started drinking it, and I just got hooked, and I crack them like they're Busch Lights at the end of my day. Like I'll be like, oh, I need a cold one. And I'll just pop it open, feel pretty bougie. But anyways, next question, fave genre of music?
Would it be, I would probably say pop. Okay. Would it be pop or pop 80s or pop 90s or alternative 80s?
Okay.
Or rap 90s?
Right. These are very...
So here's the thing.
Tell me.
My collection of music is all over. Okay. So I can't really say I have a favorite. I go from the 60s to now.
Okay.
I go from country to rap.
Okay.
I like everything.
Let's
a plethora of
Let's
musical
discuss
taste.
this country real quick. I'm not a huge country fan.
Alan Jackson, that's my guy.
Okay, really?
I love Alan Jackson. Yeah, I love older country.
Yes.
I don't
George
know.
Strait.
So I don't know where you. I love George Strait. Yeah, and I don't know where you put Chris Stapleton.
Okay, you know what?
Like, is he pop country? Is he?
Okay, so this is how I would describe Chris Stapleton is to Alan Jackson what Adele is to like
R&B.
Yeah, like Aretha Franklin. Like she is like the newer version of the soul that we all love. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like it's just
I can go with that.
And I think that's what Chris Stapleton is. I think he cultivates a little more of the old country in him, but he can also be mainstream to where, because George Strait and Alan Jackson are just like, they just strum. They're not like rock stars. Like Jason Aldean is like a rock star country artist.
Right. I saw Jason Aldean. It's crazy.
You do or you do? Wait, what'd you say?
I did.
Yeah, so did I.
saw Jason Aldean. Yeah,
he was awesome. I saw him with Luke Bryan like back in the day. Back in the day when I was 10, Just kidding.
Right.
Okay. So this one's a good one. Okay. White Claw or Truly?
Neither.
Oh my gosh, I will never forget.
I think I answered that on your. I think I answered that on your thing. I can't do White
you
Claw.
answered that in real life. You roasted me hardcore at the tournament.
Yeah, but that's that's you.
That's you.
White Claw. Yeah, you look. You're the part.
Oh well, you are profiling me hardcore right now. This is what happened. I was passing out. Yeah, I was passing out White Claws at this tournament, and you looked at me with pure disgust when I offered you one. Yeah. And I was just trying to help people and get people hydrated and giving them options. I was like, water, Gatorade, White Claw. You're like, White Claw. Like, that's how you sounded. Like, you sound like me. Like, White Claw. I don't drink White Claw.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Last one. Dodgers or Angels?
Dodgers.
You're a Dodgers fan. Like, you said that 100%. Like you were like a passionate Dodgers fan.
I am a passionate Dodgers fan. Well, the first thing is, I've been a Dodger fan since I was 9 years old when I first went to a game.
It's in your blood.
And so it's in my blood. And one of my best friends, my roommate from college, his name is Rodney Peete. His wife was Holly Robinson Peete, the actress from 21 Jump Street all the way up to Hallmark. They have an autistic son, and their autistic son works for the Dodgers. And for the Dodgers to give him a job it speaks volumes.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Say no more.
He's the clubhouse
honestly.
manager.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm a Dodgers fan now. I don't like baseball.
There you go.
At all. I think that it's so boring. I mean, I don't mind going to a game. It is. And you know what? But let me say this. I used to think golf was boring, and now I've been golfing more often, and I actually enjoy it because I don't suck that bad. And, you know, I would ask my dad, hey, you want to golf? And he's like, no, you're horrible. And I took him Father's Day, and I wasn't. So.
Well, the thing is that you realize how tough that sport is to play.
It is. Baseball's not that way.
When you watch it on television, you'll know it is. It is actually the hardest sport to play. And if you actually took a 95-mile-an-hour fastball and you watched it go by, just go to a hitting cage, right? And you'll understand how hard baseball is to play. And so just like anything, once you play it and understand it, then you can watch it and kind of compare yourself and
enjoy
say, wow,
it.
this really is a tough sport, or it's not a tough sport, or this and that. So it's anything. Tennis, it's tough to play.
It is hard.
Right.
Those are harder games. They're a little more, I mean, all sports are mental, but those are a little more mental, like mentally taxing. Yeah. But I would have to say that with baseball, someone always told me baseball is called a pastime because it's literally there to pass time. And I was like, I couldn't agree more because I don't know. Games are fun in the sense of like, yeah, you get a hot dog and some popcorn and you're talking to your friends. That's how I do baseball. And then I like try to pay attention. And then I'm like, you know, unless I'm throwing the ball out there, put me on the, pitcher's mound. I have no interest.
I'm gonna get you a White Claw and go to a baseball game. Here's the thing about baseball. And baseball is actually one of my favorite sports to watch because I understand how fast it is. And there's a lot of games going on inside the game that people don't realize. And so, and of course I have a lot of baseball friends, and I'll go to a game with baseball players and I'll ask them the little innuendos that go on in the game. And I just absolutely enjoy their answers. And so that's what's magical about it. It's like that about any sport. That's what's magical about baseball in itself is the fact that you have to really learn what's going on out in the field. It's not as easy as anybody thinks.
Okay. I might give it a shot to watch, but not on TV.
To watch.
TV watching.
Well, you'll be back if you go to a game. You'll be back to, first of all, the I don't know, what is it, Tampa Bay near you, Miami?
Yeah, the Rays,
the Marlins, or whoever. Yeah, they all suck. First of all,
they do. I mean, a lot of Florida teams, basketball, football, they all suck. I mean, Tom Brady came to Florida, so that gives us a little bit, but I'm not that's just a little bit. The Bucks. No, please. That's not even a real team. But I understand now a little bit more why baseball would be more fascinating at a Dodgers game or like a Red Sox game or a Yankees game. Like those big teams, it's a little more electric, it's a little more regal. Down here, it's like, what are we doing? Why are we even playing? So, and that's okay. We know our strengths, and ours is just the beach and Disney. So that's okay. That's our claim to fame. But we are at the point of the show where I ask each guest to give the audience something to write down. So, Chris Hale, what is your write it down?
Oh my God! Yeah, you said that before in the note, and I forgot what I was going to say.
Okay, that's okay.
You know what? I think I know what I was. Okay. No, I don't. I forgot. No, trust God.
Yeah. Trust God.
It's as simple as that. Trust God.
Mm-hmm. And have you?
And that's best advice I could give.
Yeah. Have you, let's end here, but have you seen, I'm sure you have, this might be a more rhetorical question, but have you seen where trusting God has benefited you more than trusting man?
Yes, 100%. My life. And so I know we didn't go over my career as a player, but I think that it was more or less based on the fact that I had to put my trust in something rather than man. So man has probably hurt me more than God. Like if I feel like that I've put my trust in God and let faith kind of drive me, it has worked more so than saying, look at that, more so than saying, I'm in my boss's office and his lights turn off. You don't move.
Like hallelujah hands.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, trust God.
I think that what has happened to me, and I'll tell you a real quick story, and I know you
for sure.
don't have a lot of time in this.
No, it's you. It's you.
Even to this point, I decided in my life, let's say 2 or 3 years ago, I decided that I wasn't going to pursue certain things in life anymore. One was money, 2 was friendship, and 3, the effort to chase it.
I thought you were going to say women, but I was like,
yeah, right. No,
you're like, no, I'm still chasing women, please. That ain't part of it.
I'm too old to chase women now. And so
that's hilarious.
I think that I said I'm going to be more faith-based in what I do. And things started clicking in my life. And it wasn't a planned situation. So even the job that I have now, it wasn't planned. It wasn't that I put a resume in and I said, I'm going to trust what's going on. But I just put it all in a faith-based situation. I tried to be in football for 10 years. I sent my resume to every team for 10 years in the sport in which I played. And I sent it to friends and people I knew, and none of them came through and nothing ever happened. And I decided to give all that stuff up and put my faith in God. And I said, I'm not going to chase this. I'm not going to chase that. I'm not going to chase this. And I've been more successful right at this moment than I ever have been in my life.
Wow.
And that was because I trusted God and not in man. And so that is a direct correlation as to what could happen. And you see, I travel a lot. I just got back from Niagara Falls. I've gone to, I haven't asked to do any of this stuff, right? It's just happened to me.
Yep.
It has been incredible.
It's a gift.
I've been down your way. Yeah. And I have a good group of friends and just everything has been working out because I decided that I was going to go in a different direction rather than put my faith in guys or people that I know.
Right.
So man is as it is around the world, a big letdown.
For sure. And they're very fickle. We're emotional and we let people down and people let us down. Well, Chris, thank you so much for joining Write It Down. Trust God. Thank you so much.
You got it, my dear. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Write It Down podcast. This podcast is a part of the 1513 network. You can catch a variety of shows on their website, 1513.com. If you enjoy listening to Write It Down, please subscribe, share with your friends, and if there's any ink left in your pen, write a review. For more content, follow the fun on Instagram by following at WIDPOD. That spells WIDPod. It's super cool. It stands for Write It Down Podcast, but it's abbreviated to WIDPod. Anyways, thanks for listening, and we will catch you later.